Welcome to Arwen's Whispers, where we explore great literature one story at a time. Today, we are diving deep into Little Women, Louisa May Alcott's beloved coming-of-age novel that has captivated readers for more than 150 years. This is not just a tale of four sisters growing up during the Civil War. It's a novel that examines family, ambition, love, sacrifice, and the struggle between personal dreams and social expectations, especially for women. Alcott created characters so vivid and emotionally real that generations of readers have seen themselves in them. Whether you have read the book recently, remember it from childhood, or never picked it up at all, this episode is for you. We will walk through the full plot of the novel in detail, analyze its characters, themes, and historical context, and look at why this book continues to resonate today. Grab some tea, settle in, and let's go Concord, Massachusetts, where the March sisters, Meg, Jo, Beth, and Emmy, are about to come to life. The story begins in the March family home during the early years of the American Civil War. The father, Mr. March, is away serving as a chaplain for the Union Army. At home, we have Marmee, the warm and principled mother. Meg, the eldest sister, graceful and proper, dreaming of wealth and ease. Jo, headstrong, passionate, and tomboyish, with dreams of being famous writer. Beth, gentle, selfless, and musical talented. Emmy, the youngest, vain, artistic, and ambitious in her own right. The family is poor but close-knit. The novel opens on Christmas Eve, with the girls lamenting their lack of money and gifts, but deciding to give what they have to a poorer family instead. That decision sets the tone for the novel. Virtue, charity, and personal growth over material gain. We are introduced early to Theodore Laurie Lawrence, the charming, wealthy boy next door, who quickly becomes part of the March family orbit. Alcott divides the novel into two main parts. The first part follows the girls through adolescence. Each sister faces her own challenges, and Alcott uses episodic storytelling to show their moral and personal development. Meg longs for refinement and money. At a fancy party with wealthy friends, she tries to fit into upper-class society, even dressing above her means. But she realizes she doesn't belong there and values her modest upbringing. Later, she falls in love with John Brooke, Laurie's tutor, and they eventually marry. Jo is the novel's emotional center. She is impulsive, passionate, and fiercely independent. She writes plays, stories, and dreams of literary fame. Jo also forms a deep friendship with Laurie, but insists she will never marry. When he eventually proposes, she turns him down, saying they are too alike to be happy together. Jo's personal journey involves learning to control her temper, accept help, and redefine what ambition and success look like. Her most painful challenge comes with Beth's illness, which forces her to confront vulnerability and grief. Beth is the quiet heart of the novel. She is shy and domestic, rarely seeking attention. Her character arc is less about change and more about constancy. Beth contracts scarlet fever after caring for a sick family and never fully recovers. Her slow decline is treated with grace and spirituality. Beth represents self-sacrifice and goodness without ambition. Her death profoundly affects Jo, inspiring her to write from the heart. Amy starts off as vain and a bit spoiled, but her character evolves significantly. She replaces Jo on a trip to Europe with Aunt March, where she matures. She gains appreciation for art and learns that real refinement isn't about status. In Europe, Amy reconnects with Laurie, who has been rejected by Jo and is adrift. Amy challenges him to grow up and be useful. They eventually fall in love and marry. Alcott wasn't just telling a sweet story, she was challenging and negotiating with the social realities of her time. Some key themes. First, womanhood and ambition. Alcott herself, unmarried and ambitious, uses Jo to explore what it means for a woman to want more than marriage. Jo struggles with the idea of domesticity, but eventually finds fulfillment not through romance, but through work, writing, and mentorship. 2. Domestic life as a site of power. Little Woman makes a case for the value of the home, not as a prison for women, but as a place where moral and emotional labor matters. Marmee isn't just a background character, she is a moral compass, and the novel shows the skill required to manage a family, not as submission, but as strength. 3. Grieve and lose. Beth's death is a turning point. It's not melodramatic, it's quiet, spiritual, and deeply felt. Alcott portrays grief with raw honesty. The novel becomes about learning to live with loss and still move forward. 4. Marriage as partnership. All three marriages, Meg and John, Amy and Laurie, Joe and Professor Pyre, are framed not as fairy tale endings, but as choices rooted in respect, mutual growth, and shared values. Love isn't about grand gestures, it's about work and companionship. The ending. After Beth's death and Amy and Laurie's marriage, Jo is left with the questions about her path. She moves to New York to work and write, where she meets Professor Friedrich Parr, a kind and serious German intellectual. Their relationship develops slowly. Friedrich challenges Jo to write stories with substance instead of sensationalist fiction. Eventually they fall in love. Jo returns home after inheriting Aunt March's estate and opens a school for boys. The novel ends not with Jo achieving literary fame, though she does publish, but with her creating a life of purpose, surrounded by children, family, and ideas. Alcott gives Jo a quieter but more meaningful success. Interestingly, Alcott originally didn't want Jo to marry at all, but bowed to pressure from readers and publishers. Still, she makes that relationship unconventionally and intellectually equal. Little Woman is a novel that doesn't end with happily ever after. It ends with earned happiness. It's not about triumph in the traditional sense. It's about the slow, often painful process of becoming who you are meant to be. What makes the book endure is not just nostalgia. It's the honesty with which Alcott treats her characters. She lets them be flawed, messy, ambitious, loving, selfish, selfless, and ultimately human. It's a story about sisters, but it's also about identity, loss, gender rules, and how we define fulfillment. Little Woman reminds us that greatness doesn't always look like glory. Sometimes it looks like patience, quiet resilience, and building something that lasts. Thanks for listening to this deep dive of Arwen's Whispers. If you enjoyed this episode, consider rating and sharing it with your friends, and let us know which classic would you like to hear about next. It was Arwen with you. See you next time. Bye bye.